Hello, everybody, and welcome to this CLNS Red Sox Roundtable. My name is Alex Barth. I am joined by Nick Quaglia today, and we are talking what else. We finally have a move in the offseason. The Red Sox have signed JD Martinez to a 5-year, $110 million heavily front-loaded deal, and it looks like Dave Dombrowski may have gotten his power bat for 2018. So, Nick, thanks for doing this with me, and you feel, I think more than anything else, a sense of relief this morning, knowing that the Red Sox finally got their guy?
I couldn't tell you the sense of relief that I have because this has been insane that it took till February 19th. My birthday's in mid-February. The fact that I was able to turn to the next age and
Did you
still
just forget
have
how old you are?
for a second.
I'm sorry. I couldn't just let that go.
The fact that I turned 24. And there was no move made by the Red Sox that was significant. There was Mitch Moreland. There was Eduardo Nunez last week that kind of came out of the trees. But just the fact that JD Martinez was able to last until February 19th was insane. It was insane. And the relief that stems with now, this is a team, and we'll probably touch on this in a little bit in a couple minutes. This team now plays with the Yankees. That's the relief that I get.
No, see, I don't think they do. And people keep saying that. And I know there's a crowd that thinks Martinez is better than Stanton because on Wednesdays in May, the day after it rains against left-handed pitchers in ballparks built after 1950, he has an OPS that's 2 points higher. No, I'm sorry. Giancarlo Stanton's still a better player. The Yankees are a better team. But it makes the Red Sox interesting. It certainly does. And they got them at a very team-friendly deal. Look, if we're talking about 5 years, $200 million today, I'm sitting here bashing Dave Dombrowski. I think he got the best of Scott Boras, which is something people don't usually do. It doesn't make the Red Sox better than the Yankees yet, but they left themselves the room that they can go make the deal next year that will make them better than the Yankees. It's still encouraging, but I'm not willing to go that far yet, Nick.
See, I am, though, because I trust this pitching staff. I think this pitching staff is going to, and you said something about David Price the other day that you have a theory on him, so that would change the ballgame if your theory were to happen.
Why do people, and we'll get into this in the next segment, we'll get in the next segment about the pitching staff. Sorry, go ahead.
But just the team as a whole now, I think they're complete top to bottom with JD Martinez putting him in the middle of that lineup. Now we actually have a power bat, and I was even looking through his numbers just with men on base. With men on base,
here we go with the metrics.
It's baseball's a metrics game. And I say that I'm usually not a metrics guy, but just with men on base, that's one of the Red Sox biggest issues last year was having bases loaded, men on second and third, and not being able to drive them in. Martinez hit 317 last year with men on base. And yeah, I know it's a metric number, but it's a metric number that you have to pay attention to.
I'll tell you this, the one kind of I don't know if this is technically sabermetrics, but the one sort of sabermetrics thing that did get me excited, I don't know if you saw this, Nick, on Twitter yesterday. They overlaid JD Martinez 2017 hit chart on Fenway Park. That probably encouraged me more than anything else because he clearly likes to go to left field. He can hit the ball both ways. Look, he is a legitimate power to all fields hitter, and now they have two of them in the lineup, assuming Rafael Devers, doesn't fall into a major sophomore slump. Which, by the way, how robbed do you feel that Rafael Devers is not eligible for Rookie of the Year this year? He overstayed his welcome last year by I think like 50 at bats in 10 days, but they have two legitimate power to all fields hitters. It does make their lineup more dangerous. I just feel like he's not that X factor guy. He's not that guy that when he comes to the plate, you're thinking about runners on second and third in a one-run game. You're thinking about walking, right? Hanley, in theory, should be that guy, but JD Martinez is not that David Ortiz type of guy. And I think people are pegging him that because, well, he was the best free agent this offseason. It was a very weak free agency class, which I think is part of the reason this took so long, is you have guys who want to be paid like the top of the market who any other given year aren't. JD Martinez, top power bat on the market this year. Next year, would he even be top 5? I don't know about that.
Well, so going back to just the game changer thing that JD Martinez gives the Red Sox, I think something fan-wise, the reason why people are so excited about this move is because the Red Sox fans haven't had a power bat since David Ortiz left. They haven't had anybody that you can really trust. I mean, you have Hanley Ramirez, but Hanley Ramirez, you never know what you're going to get out of him. The scariest thing about JD Martinez, though, it's the obvious thing we've been talking about all off season, and whether or not this is the reason why he's worth the money, because he's played 158 games one time in his career. All the other years, he hasn't made it over 125, other than maybe one other time. So he's injury prone, and that's the scary part. You, at points in the season, you're going to lose this guy. I don't think he's going to have another 158 game season, because that's not what he's done before. He's done it one time. So now we're going to deal with a guy who's injury prone, and I don't hate it. I think it's something you can deal with, but if it becomes too much of an issue, this might be a bust in some sense.
Real quick before we move on to the next thing, because I just kind of thought of this. Who hits more home runs next year, JD Martinez or Rafael Devers?
Oh, JD Martinez.
See, I'm pausing on that because you mentioned the injury history. Yeah. I'm gonna and you assume Devers will be protected in the lineup by Martinez. I'm gonna have to pause on that. And I just want to remind everybody that this Roundtable Day is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Garden Report and get a discount on your order at SeatGeek.com. Promo code Garden Report. We talk about the lineup, how it's going to shape out, where JD Martinez will fit. Positionally, though, who's the odd man out here? Because you have Hanley Ramirez, Mitch Moreland at first base. You clearly have three established outfielders. Devers is going to be a lock at third. I don't believe I missed any other positions that Martinez can play. He's a versatile guy, but one man can only do so much. Who is the odd man out here? Because for $110 million, he sure as hell better not be a platoon player.
He's going to DH for the most part. He's going to DH for the most part. And if he does get outfielding time, the obvious answer to me is Jackie Bradley Jr. Jackie Bradley Jr. has, as much as the Red Sox seem to love him, the guy has underperformed every single year, except he has a 29-game hit streak one day, and then he goes back to the classic Jackie Bradley Jr. where he strikeout city, swings at everything. And the guy's a phenomenal outfielder. But you also, Red Sox fans have to remember this, you have two other center fielders playing right and left field. That's replaceable. Andrew Benintendi grew up playing center field. You can move him over to center field easily. JD Martinez loves the outfield. If he's going to play the outfield, it's going to be in left field. It's a simple equation.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to take that one step further, Nick, and you said in the last segment, if you're watching this roundtable on YouTube, you can go back and find the previous segment on the CLNS YouTube channel. You said you think this team's complete. You think that this was the final piece, the cornerstone, they're ready to go. I actually think they still need to make some moves, and I'm going to start with starting pitching. Again, I don't love this rotation. Look, Chris Sale, bona fide stud, fine. David Price, if it was up to me, he'd be in the bullpen. He'd be the eighth inning guy. I get attacked every time I say that, so I'll say, fine, he's your number two starter. But
wouldn't be a great manager.
All
right.
He still never really resolved that elbow issue from last year. It just kind of went away, and that's a little suspicious for me. I don't know if he's not heading to the operating table soon. Drew Pomeranz is a fine third starter. The average, he'll give you ace stuff some nights, other nights not so much. Rick Porcello is total wild card. Don't trust him at all. It sounds like Eduardo Rodriguez will not be ready for opening day due to a knee injury. Shocker. And you don't know what's going on with Stephen Wright with both his injury and possible suspension. Don't forget about that. So you're looking right now at a fourth starter in Rick Porcello who could implode on any night. And then anywhere from Brian Johnson, who I like, but I still don't think is totally ready, to Hector Velazquez, to Ty Buttrey as your fifth starter. We laughed last year when the Red Sox went out, 2-3 weeks into the season and signed Doug Fister. And, it's kind of a guy who hadn't been on the radar for a while. I get that it's a little bit of a goofy signing. We thought, they're banged up in the rotation. He'll get him through 2 or 3 weeks, and then he'll have a nice little year in Pawtucket. He ended up being a really important signing. Now, he wasn't, an all-star by any means, but he ate up innings, and he gave them quality starts down the stretch when they needed them. That they still need to add that guy this year, that veteran experienced arm. I said this the other day, somebody brought up Clay Buchholz to me. Please God, not that guy, but somebody with a similar resume, maybe who's not as much of a head case. But they still need to add that guy, and they can do a little better in my mind this year than a Doug Fister. Jackie Bradley Jr. just became expendable. I wonder if there's another big move. There should be another big move from Dave Dombrowski. Go move JBJ. Go get a legitimate major league top 3 arm. And then you have Sale, you have Price, you have whoever you get for Bradley, which should be a quality pitcher. you have Pomerantz is the fourth starter, which makes him a lot more valuable. And I'm fine with Rick Porcello at the 5. And then you get Erod back when you need him, which I'm not counting on him to make more than 10 or 15 starts. And Stephen Wright is a knuckleballer who is coming off of an injury, who is also dealing with a domestic violence suspension. I like no part about that in relying on this guy. I think Eduardo Rodriguez as your 6th starter is a good place to be. This team still needs to make a couple more moves. And to me, trading Jackie Bradley Jr. for an established major league starter is the next shoe to drop.
And see, that makes sense. And Jackie Bradley Jr. being traded, in regards to that, the Red Sox yesterday were like, oh no, we're not going to be trading Jackie Bradley Jr. Like I said, they love him, but I don't believe that for a second. You have Dave Dombrowski who loves to trade. You have Dave Dombrowski who loves to make moves. And like you said, a veteran pitcher added to this rotation is only going to make this rotation lethal. This rotation, I agree with you. The back end of it, it's iffy. It's scary. The front end of it is beautiful. If David Price can stay healthy.
That's just Chris Sale, though. The front end's just Chris Sale.
If David Price can stay healthy, I think the guy is motivated this year. That might just be
people that I've been talking to the last couple of days have been living on this. If David Price is healthy, Rick Porcello was once a young winner. Drew Pomerantz was an all-star for 2 months. Those are the lines I keep getting fed. These are minute sample sizes that are the biggest what-ifs. This isn't 2013. You're not going to have every what-if go right between Pomerantz, Porcello, Price, and Wright. You get legitimate full season performances from 2 of those guys. I'll tell you that right now. Those are all 50-50 scenarios. You can count on 2 of those guys. That still leaves you with a spot in the rotation.
And I agree. But I think David Price is going to have a good year. That's just been my feeling, and that's what I felt about last year, too. This is year 3. He's settled in, and it might just be the spring training hype, but I'm with him. I think David Price and Chris Sale are going to be are going to make for the best 1-2 punch in baseball. And if you trade Jackie Bradley Jr., you can get that third veteran who's been there before, who's been in the spotlight before. And the Red Sox, like I said, they said that they're not going to trade Jackie Bradley Jr. I don't believe that for a second. I do not believe that for a second. I don't think JD Martinez wants to be the DH. I think JD Martinez wants to play left field. And what are you going to say? If you are actually thinking about trading Jackie Bradley Jr., you're not going to outright say, we're thinking about trading Jackie Bradley Jr. So now that guy's got it in his head, well, damn, the team wants to get rid of me. That wouldn't make any sense. That's a dumb move on Dave Dombrowski's part if he were to do that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and it's not something that necessarily needs to happen before the season. You could do it a couple weeks into the season, but something to keep an eye on. This roundtable is brought to you by SeatGeek. Visit SeatGeek.com or use their app. With the promo code Garden Report, you get a discount on your offer. Again, that's SeatGeek.com, the promo code Garden Report. So the free agent saga starting to be put in the rearview mirror a little bit here. Now you have JD Martinez signed, Eric Hosmer, Yu Darvish. We're just waiting on Jake Arrieta. Three of those 4, I believe, maybe it's all 4, are Scott Boras guys. And it leads us to a question, or at least leads me to a question, Nick, that has been prevalent throughout the offseason. Does Scott Boras, and I guess by extension agents as a whole, but specifically Scott Boras, right? This guy has been the villain of the MLB for years. In villain in that, if your favorite player on your favorite team is a Boras guy, he's not going to be on your team for much longer. Right? How many Red Sox has he brought over to the Yankees? Vice versa. Dodgers to the Giants. He loves money. Xander Bogaerts will be gone. A Yankee or an Oriole in a year or 2. By the way, Jackie Bradley Jr. too, to get back to our last point, and if you're watching on YouTube and you missed our last segment, go check it out on the Sealiners YouTube page. His contract's up at the end of the year, so that's another reason perhaps they should move him. But anyway, the question, Nick, and I'll let you touch on it first. Does Scott Boras wield too much power in the MLB?
He wields way too much power, and that's not on him. He's doing his job. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to get these players, and he's great at his job. That's the crappy part for the team for MLB teams. He is phenomenal at his job. He gets himself a ton of money. He gets the players a ton of money. What else is he supposed to do? But he does pose a problem for all MLB teams because he's the reason, in my eyes, that this took till February 19th to get JD Martinez signed, and February 17th to get Eric Hosmer signed. Because he's asking for ridiculous money. Beginning of the offseason, he's telling JD Martinez fires his previous agent to get Scott Boras because Scott Boras is telling him, you're worth over $200 million. Scott, in what world is he worth over $200 million? He's not. That is an asinine amount of money. We're not talking about Bryce Harper. We're not talking about Mike Trout. We're not talking about Manny Machado. We're talking about JD Martinez, who's had a good career, a better than average career, a good power bat. He's going to be your DH most likely in Boston. You're going to pay a guy $200 million, 7 years to play DH in Boston? Not a chance. Not a chance. And that's why he's the problem. He's telling these players that they're worth so much money that, A, we're seeing ridiculous contracts in baseball now. We are seeing absurd contracts now in baseball. Teams don't want to spend that money anymore. They're getting sick of it. It was a collusion case against Scott Boras.
Right. Players have been setting the market, and that's kind of why Scott Boras can say he's worth $200 million, because they'll hold out and assume a team will eventually pay it. I think this is the first time it hasn't happened. I can only imagine. I haven't really seen any rumors. I can only imagine what he claims Jake Arrieta's worth. But and it goes to a bigger picture, Nick. Yeah, Scott Boras, the agents have become too powerful. I know the CBA doesn't necessarily favor the players, but I think with the agents they have, they've twisted it in a way where it helps them out. You see, especially pitchers getting these gross contracts. The MLB needs to catch up to the rest of the world, and pace of play is one of those. And right, you hear that line thrown out all the time. The MLB needs to modernize its game with the pace of play, and they do. That is issue number one. Issue 1A in modernizing the game: get a salary cap.
Only six mound visits per game now. They've addressed it.
So what I found out, when I first saw the rule, I thought that was ridiculous because you're going to force teams into using all six. It's going to make it longer. That includes just catcher visits.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if
anybody go and like if Xander Bogaerts goes to the mound.
See, I feel like that will actually cut down.
I do too. I don't
know if it's enough, but I feel like it'll cut down. But anyway, that's issue one, partially solved now. Issue 1A, they need a salary cap. Because you see with the NFL, you see with the NBA, you see with the NHL, it not only prevents teams, for the big market teams, from just going and spending these ludicrous amounts of dollars on the top flight free agents and keeping the other teams in the dark. Salary cap generally is paired with a salary floor. And part of what's the issue with the MLB right now is everybody's trying to be the Astros, suck for 5 years, and knock it out of the park in the draft, which you just can't do on a regular basis. That's not guaranteed. What Houston did is incredible. It's not necessarily going to be duplicated.
Especially in baseball. It's too hard to do in baseball.
Right.
You never know what they're going to turn out to be.
And the draft is so far down the line, it's not like in the NBA where you can tank, go draft Karl Anthony Towns, go draft Anthony Davis, and compete in 2 or 3 years. You're looking at, on a year, let's say the top prospect's a high school kid, you're looking at 5-6 years before that kid's a factor. And it's not as much of an individual sport. If that's a pitcher, you only get him once every 5 days, right? Steven Strasburg had nowhere near the impact that a lot of people thought he would when he finally got to the majors. Good player, right? But Bryce Harper, too. Nationals still haven't won a World Series, and they made arguably the 2 best draft picks in the last decade. So it's not a system that's going to work. The MLB needs to catch up, get a salary cap, a salary floor. Don't do the max contract thing the NBA does. I hate that because it allows players to, again, be valued more than they're worth. But the MLB needs a salary cap when they go to the table in, 2021?
It needs it big time. And that's all I've been saying all offseason in regards to these contracts. A big part of this, it's Scott Boras' fault, but you also got to put some of the blame on the MLB for never installing a salary cap. You're getting players like David Price getting $31 million a year. And I get it.
And it's all guaranteed, too.
Yeah, he's a baseball player.
Cut the crap with these guaranteed contracts.
I get it. He gets so much money. He I guess technically earned that. But $31 million is ridiculous. Pretty soon we're gonna have $45 million contracts at this rate by 2025. $45 million. We're gonna have that. Bryce Harper and Manny Machado had that chance next year. It's the MLB, a big part of the MLB's fault for even allowing it to get this far. It's out of hand. And I think they kind of got that this year. And that's why I think they colluded against Scott Boras. Big chain email saying, hey guys, let's hold out on these contracts right now because there is no way that JD Martinez is worth $200 million. Doesn't make any sense. It's the MLB's fault. Salary cap has to be instated. Salary cap,
player caps, no more guaranteed contracts. They got to, and another thing that will help curve tanking. Just while we're on the topic, teams need to be able to trade draft picks. Not all 40 rounds because that's going to be a mess. But maybe say first 10 rounds, you can trade draft picks. Maybe you won't let them trade them in the off season. Maybe a draft pick can only be traded with another draft pick, so teams always have the same number of picks, whatever. You need to implement trading draft picks because that also is going to kind of curb at least the long-term tanking element. Teams will still tank, but if a team can acquire 4 first-round draft picks in a year, it at least speeds up the process because there's a better chance one of those guys will be good quicker. All right, that is going to do it for us on this Red Sox Roundtable. It was brought to you by SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com. Use the promo code Garden Report for a discount on your order. Again, SeatGeek.com, promo code Garden Report. Keep an eye out on Twitter at CLNS Media, at Red Sox Beat for our continuous Red Sox coverage. You can check out this full episode on the CLNS Media website, clnsmedia.com. We're also available on iTunes and Stitcher. So for Nick Quaglia, my name's Alex Barth. Thanks for joining us on this Red Sox Roundtable. We'll talk to you next time.